you're able to feel pressure, it's an absolute privilege. I fell off so hard, people weren't even talking about me coming back. Wrestling-wise, never was really in my family. Most of my family's pretty tall, so they did other sports, clearly. But when I was in kindergarten, I lived in this tiny little town called Plattsburgh, Missouri. My graduating class was like 25 kids. They were trying to grow their youth wrestling program, and they handed out flyers to our kindergarten class. And sorry, my throat's like dry. We just finished up practice, so
Oh, you're good.
I'm struggling to. But they handed out these flyers to join the Little League club, and I see wrestling, and I'm like, oh, dude, sick. Like, I want to do flips off the ropes and powerbomb guys and be the next Rey Mysterio kind of thing, not realizing what actually wrestling, was. And my dad pushed back so hard. He's like, you're not doing that. I don't like it. You're going to play basketball, football, run track. You're going to do an athletic sport.
Interesting.
I just kept bugging him about it, and finally, my mom talked my dad into taking me and at least giving it a try, and never really looked back. I kind of had a natural ability, I guess. That sounds so arrogant to say, but picked up on it pretty quick, and the coach that was there got excited about it and got my dad excited about it. And so he was bought in more than I was bought in at that point. And you know how it is as a little kid. When your dad decides it's happening, it's happening. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's funny. Now, do you have any siblings or anything like that?
Yeah, I got 4 younger siblings, 2 little brothers, 2 little sisters. They're all taller than me. Um, but none of them wrestled. They all did their own thing, which was pretty cool. Wrestling is, it's a lot. You guys know it's so demanding, and you sacrifice a lot to wrestle.
Mhm.
So I'm plus having an older brother that had some mild success. The pressures that can add. I was glad that they kind of chose their own path for sure.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting though, because I feel like a lot of people that I don't know what the age range is like with you and your siblings, but typically, I mean, for hockey, Dylan and I are both hockey players. So if you grow up and
oh,
you've got,
nice.
a lot of our friends,
Oh,
they'll have a few siblings, and they'll all play hockey, and typically one of them's a goalie because they throw them in net, and then that's how they grow up. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So that is cool that you took
that's
a
funny.
different path.
That is funny. I never thought about that. I think it is typical, like wrestling families. All the brothers wrestle, right? But
Yeah.
we weren't a wrestling family per se, so it just kind of shook out like that. So starting at that youth club, was having like decent success, um, and then started looking into finding a little more competitive clubs. So did Perler. I don't know if I guess you guys are hockey guys, so you wouldn't know
Yeah.
all these intricacies of these little clubs, but started finding like travel team clubs, little more competitive clubs. And then once I got to high school, met a coach that ingrained in me the importance of a passion for what you're doing. Um, and yeah, man, just never looked back at that point. Quit every other sport, really leaned into wrestling. Um, had pretty good success. I was ranked 3rd or 4th coming out of high school, going into college. Chose to go to Duke University. Um, you guys would appreciate this. Underdog podcast. Not a very good wrestling team. I think I was the highest recruit they'd ever landed, and I was excited about that. I wanted to go build something, be the first national champ, and just really get the ball rolling for Duke. That was the whole game plan, but as an 18-year-old kid, it's super difficult to do, and learned that the hard way. Wasn't prepared for the academic rigor that came with going to Duke, and just had a tough year. Had some deaths in my family, was far away from home, had a rough year of injuries, and decided to transfer back home to the University of Missouri. And then, that's where I finished my college career.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I can only imagine. That must have been tough. did you think at that point in time, like, did you ever cross your mind that you might, stop wrestling, or were you just, set on coming back closer to home?
No, I mean, I knew I wanted to wrestle for sure.
Yep.
That thought came 2 years later, when I very first got to Mizzou. So freshman year at Duke, I was hurt most of the season. Took a red shirt, transferred, got to Mizzou. Started training. Missouri is like a top five program every year, so it was a big
Okay.
change in the level of competition and practice, all those kind of things. Um, Blow out my knee, missed the entire season. Um, so pretty frustrating. Year later, I'm just getting cleared to come back. Did all this rehab and extra training and rupture a disc in my cervical spine in my neck.
Shit.
Um, had to have had to have a neck surgery. They went in through the front. Let me see. I don't want to take too much time looking for this, but I got a picture of it that
Oof.
kind of shows what I'm talking about. But they went in through the front, and here we go. So that's my
Yeah.
neck, and I'm kind of jumping ahead in stories because you can see there's two disc replacements here. This was the
Right. Right.
first one in 2015, and this was the second one in 2021. Um, the first one, it had just got FDA approved in the United States in 2013, so relatively new surgery. Um, Went into it with a lot of questions, not sure what was going to happen, and had the surgery, came out, was feeling amazing. Um, and Actually, I skipped a little bit. Prior to having the surgery, my coach set me down and was like, hey, I think we need to retire. Like, you're going into your third year of not wrestling. You've been off the mat for 2.5 years. You've had two major surgeries. You're about to have a neck surgery. I think it's time to hang it up. And for that night, I did. I told him I'd medically retire. I'd move on with life. Um, Decided to get the surgery. Had the surgery, felt great, and was like, no way. Like, no way. I got to give this.
Back on the
I need
saddle.
at least one, 100%. I was like, I need at least one opportunity to wrestle in college. Spent 3 years sitting on the sidelines. Um, and now I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. Like, let's go. So I was out for 9 months, came back, started training with this neck brace. It's kind of where any notoriety that I have comes from the neck brace. There was a fan account within the wrestling world, small community, but that was dedicated to my neck brace, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I stepped on the mat for my very first college match after 1,084 days of off the mat. Um,
Shit.
had the number 18 ranked guy, Eric Baroni. He was a returning national qualifier. Dude, I was shaking in my boots.
I bet.
Scared,
Yeah.
not sure. Yeah, hadn't competed in so long. All the confidence I'd had was gone. Forgot what it was like. I'm sure you guys have felt this. Like, you have a specific regimen to warm up. You know
Yep.
what music you're listening to, what food you're listening to, where your mood needs to be, your excitement level, all these things. Couldn't remember. I didn't know. It'd been so long. I was just like, fudge it. Well, I'm just gonna go out there
Yep.
and do my thing. Whatever, however the chips fall. I'm just grateful to be back. Um, so obviously scared to death, no confidence. I'm going to walk out for this match, and my coach, is the best advice I've ever got. Grabs me by my arm, pulls me back in, and he goes, hey, I just want you to know you're going to get really effing tired, and that's okay. And I was like, what? Like, what? Thanks for the pep talk, buddy. Like, I'm going to go get freaking tired. What are you talking about? Dude, I kid you not. Second period hits. We're 3 minutes into the match. I'm like, shit, I am tired. It's like, shit, he warned me about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I knew I was gonna get tired. This is okay. And
Yep.
it literally flipped my mind. I was like, it's okay that I'm tired, and I competed so well. It was like, wow, that was great advice.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but feel like before we go any further, I
Yeah,
wanna sort of dive into this a little bit. So going back just a little bit,
absolutely.
to your high school days. So, I know that there's a lot of pressure around being a higher up recruit, a high prospect, whatever you want to call it. So I guess my
Yeah.
first question is like, what was that like for you? Being at the top of the game and sort of going into the recruiting phase of like, um, you know, a lot is expected of you. The spotlight's on you. What was that like for you?
I loved it. I got blessed with parents that, loved me regardless of the result. Got blessed with coaches that understood focusing on the process rather than the result is extremely important. Um, and that pressure, if you're able to feel pressure, it's an absolute privilege. And I always told myself, whether it was true or not, that I was a pressure guy. Like in my head, the more pressure there was, the better that I'm going to perform. Um, I think typically it shook out that way. I used to get the crap kicked out of me in practice, but then match time would come and I'd look like a different person. So in those regards, like being a top recruit, coming in to try to change this program, expecting to win, All American status, national titles. Um, I love that's what I love. Part of what I love doing. I like the aspect of the solo sport, being out there by yourself, all eyes on you. As conceited as that sounds,
Yeah.
it was part of the game that I really loved. So
Yeah, well, there's a confidence that comes with that too, obviously, right? Like being at the top of your game, like you get a surge of confidence like constantly, you know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah,
you also face the other side of it too, where like all of a sudden you get to
yeah,
college and you're facing all these injuries, you have losses in the family and whatnot. So I guess what was your change of mindset or your perspective, whatever you want to call it, when you got to college and you started facing these adversities? And I'm assuming at that point in time when, you went on that hiatus of not being on the mat. People were
yeah,
doubting you. I guarantee you there were people talking about, you're not who you used to be, or you're not, what you
yeah,
panned out to be and whatnot. So, what was that like? That change of mindset? Because obviously you love being in the spotlight. But what was it like being on the
for
other
sure.
end of the spectrum?
Honestly, it was super humbling, but an absolute blessing, to say the least. I'll get into that in a minute, but I fell off so hard, people weren't even talking about me coming back. So it went from like, big prospect, Duke's best prospect they've ever had, to who the hell is this guy? Like, haven't heard of him
Wow.
for 3 years. At that point, had become old news. You know how it is. The next recruiting class
Yep.
comes in, you're excited about those guys. You don't see the guy competing. You just kind of get lost in the names, right? So zero expectations of me. Nobody was talking about me, which was kind of cool also because like it was a change. But the big things through that process was, the first injury at Duke. It's like a little bit frustrating, but I'm redshirting anyways. Transfer, training my butt off at Mizzou, excited for the season. Get injured again. Now it's like, man, going into 2 years without competing at this point. Trying to win a spot on the varsity lineup is hard to begin with, let alone when you can't wrestle or compete. Um, but there's a couple things that kept me, super grounded in those moments, and it was a quote: "A, um, you know, don't change the goal, change the process." Right? So got hurt, couldn't control certain aspects of what was going on, but I wasn't going to change the goal. The goal remained the same. The second thing is a Martin Luther King quote that I would journal every day, and it was, "If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, you keep moving forward." So
Best
I
quote ever.
took it. It's such a great quote because there's always something you could be doing to hone your craft, even if you can't necessarily do that specific craft. So I couldn't wrestle, after knee surgery, couldn't run, but I could lift a hell of a lot of weights. I could watch a hell of a lot of film. I could work on my mental game. I had the neck surgery, couldn't lift as much anymore, but I could run, I could bike, I could do the mental stuff, I could watch. And it taught me the importance of visualization. I would show up at practice every day, watch what they were teaching, do it in my head, and envision myself doing these movements and feeling a guy. And, I have this new perspective that I was gifted from not being in it as much anymore to being outside of it, where I could be like, oh man, this makes sense now. This makes sense now.
Hmm.
Um, Gaining like almost a coaching perspective. So there was so many blessings that came with the injuries. When I did come back, the most difficult thing though was competing without confidence, because I had never
Hmm.
done that before. I thought I could walk on water. I thought like going into every match, I was the biggest, baddest dude in the country. Was never scared, never lacked confidence, and now for the first time, I'm like, fudge. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm gonna do. I don't know what's gonna happen here. But the attitude became whatever. I'm just grateful I get to do this at all. So
Yep.
yeah, a funny almost 180, and they both had their positives and negatives for sure. So it's been interesting as a coach knowing both sides of the coin and navigating those things.
One of the big, mental side of things is injuries. Unfortunately, injuries part of sport. Whatever it is. Joey and I both had our fair share of injuries. Wrestlers, obviously a physical sport. They're more prone, and I think the best athletes make the most of their time injured. You can look at it and play or poor me. I can't be out there on the field or on the mat, on the ice, etc. Or you can do exactly what you said.
Yep.
You can't walk, you crawl, you make some sort of progress. And the best athletes make the most of their time away. And it looks like it's tied in well,
Mm-hmm.
for coaching with you. Um, a similar story. There's a couple NHL player and prospect had similar wrist injuries, and they changed the way they shot, and it taught them, so when they were healthy, they had a new weapon. It was like another trick up their sleeve, and it just added to the
Yeah.
element of their game. And it's like, they look back and they analyze this, and they're like, they never would have had this skill if they didn't have the injury. And it's tough to realize that at the moment, but it pays off.
Right.
And it's big to see athletes that are able to make the most of their time away. And one other thing, I just wanted to recap real quick. So when you're at Duke,
Absolutely.
what was the first injury you had?
It started with it started my whole neck thing, from like ramping up college training or high school training to college training. Um, I was getting stingers almost daily, and I developed stenosis so bad in my back and neck that I couldn't sit still, without having my arm go numb and just feel like a. Have you guys had stingers? I'm assuming in hockey that happens.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
So stenosis is like that stinger feeling, but all day, like sitting there, like numb arm, dude. It was so uncomfortable. I couldn't get through class. I couldn't sleep at night. Like I was going crazy. Tried acupuncture and stem therapy. I tried all like it's just one of those things that like as I trained, it just got worse and worse. And so I would take time off the mat, and then I blew my bursa sac in my knee, and my knee inflated, and so as a red shirt, you don't compete a ton anyways, but the opportunities that I had to compete kept getting squashed, with knick-knack injuries here and there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And now to jump back to your third year, or I guess, what would be your junior year, your third year back, how did the match end? You ended, you said you were tired, you got into the second
Oh,
period, and then how did it
Oh, that's
finish?
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was dying to hear how it ended.
So,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. So that would that was technically my fourth year of college. So I'm a redshirt junior. I went redshirt at Duke, redshirt freshman slash sophomore year, neck surgery, junior year
Yep.
knee surgery. So I think I told it backwards earlier. I actually had the neck surgery first, and then the knee surgery, and then um, senior year, redshirt junior at the time. I'll get into that in a second. Um, that was when I first wrestled. Second period, 0-0. I get choice, I pick down, and I kid you not, we had just drilled this technique that week. It's the first time I'd heard of it, and it's such an easy, like, no-brainer skill. I'd just never been exposed to it before. It's called cut and score, and it's when you escape or get away from somebody, you immediately attack right back in. Because what happens a lot of time in wrestling is when they get away from you, you both kind of relax for a second, and then you go back down to get like
Right.
back after the match. And so as I cut, I recognized that he was relaxing, and I just freaking shot right in. We had just drilled it literally 3 or 4 days prior, which was super exciting. It's like, man, this stuff's paying off. Um, so I get 1 point for the escape, shoot right in, get the takedown. I'm up 3-0. He gets away 3-1. Third period, he picks down, gets away 3-2. And then he had to chase me down, and I ended up scoring again on the edge and beat him 5-2.
Wow.
Lee.
Um, so, yeah, which was like, okay, that kid was ranked 18th. I can compete. I don't know how well still. Like, I didn't come here to be a top 20 guy. I came here to win a national title.
Yep.
Literally a week later, I get the crap kicked out of me. I
Really?
lose twice in the same day to two kids that weren't ranked at the time. Almost lost my starting spot because I performed so badly, and was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I had
What a
beginner's
roller coaster.
luck. Yeah, was like,
No
oh
kidding.
man, I lost it. Like I'm not the same guy. Thinking I lost my starting spot. And the following weekend, we traveled to Virginia Tech. They're third or fourth ranked team in the country. The guy I'm wrestling is ranked third in the country. So it's like, all right, this is it. Like ride or die here. And I actually end up dominating. It was the best match I wrestled all year.
No
Beat the
way.
number 3 guy, 2-time returning All American, 9-2,
Oh my
and
Sweet.
God, that is a domination. Jeez.
didn't look back from there. I wasn't ranked at the time. Knock off the number 3 guy, and then didn't lose again until nationals went. Um, Ended up beating the fourth, the the fifth, the sixth ranked guys back to back to back. Kind of went on a run, got a little bit of confidence back, made the national tournament, was seeded third, which was pretty excited about. End up blowing it in the quarterfinals. If you win, you're an All-American automatically. You move to the semifinals, potentially a finalist. I'm winning with 20 seconds left and give up a takedown and lose by 1 point with 20
Oh boy.
seconds. Go to the backside and end up winning my All-American round and end up taking sixth. So after 3 years, it was a good season, but I was still pretty disappointed for sure. Like left some points on the
Yeah.
table, threw away a match.
Yeah.
Uh, so
But I feel like
yeah,
that's all a perspective thing too. Like you think about all that happened within those few weeks and where you were prior to that. I feel like perspective is one of those things that is just very it's very cloudy with athletes. You know what I mean? They'll make it back
for
from
sure.
injuries, they'll make it back from adversities, and they get back to the top, or whether it's a national championship, a semifinal, whatever it might be, and they lose. They think that they didn't come out of that with anything. You know what I mean? But if you really take the big picture, you're like, holy, like look what I just went. I mean, what you just
Yeah.
explained over. I think it was what 3-4 weeks you said over that period of time, where it was like you came back and you had your first win there, and then you got dominated, and then you came back and beat the third ranked guy.
Oh yeah.
That's
That was a
crazy.
3 week span. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Nuts.
so take us through that a little bit. Like what were your emotions like? And I know like a common thing in sports in particular is like don't get too high, don't get too low. Now obviously there are two totally different levels there for you, right? Like you're coming back. I'm sure you
Yeah.
were pretty euphoric after that first match back. I'm assuming anyways after having 1,000 and some
Oh
odd
man.
days. You know what I mean?
I threw up for like 3 matches straight after that. So finished that first match. I was so anxious and had such a dump. I missed half of the rest of the duel because I was in the locker room throwing up. It wasn't exhaustion. It was just pure like adrenaline and oh my
Yep.
gosh, fear, I guess. So yeah, oh, I was ecstatic. We did a really cool presentation on the softball field, an outside duel, got a really solid fan base at it, um, and I gave this scream like I'm back. It was it
That's
was
awesome.
pretty cool moment. Just find out I wasn't back quite yet, because yeah, literally a week later, got the crap kicked out of me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the not
Um,
getting too high, not getting too
and you
low, I
know that
guess.
100%. And I I didn't get too low because I understood that I was gonna have some growing pains that year. And I felt that I didn't wrestle my best. So I was frustrated at that, but I didn't lose. Like, I knew I could still figure it out, and I knew I still had some time. It's a long wrestling season, from November all the way to March. That's 5, 6 months of time to develop and figure it out. So, wasn't too let down, especially when I found out that I didn't lose my starting spot. Um,
I'm sure, yeah.
and then I knew at that point, like, I had to appreciate the moments that I could wrestle. Wrestling a top three guy in the country, a two-time All-American, was such an exciting thing. We wrestled in this theater that was packed house, top five duel. Spotlights are coming in. You come running down through the fans with the spotlight on you.
That's cool.
Um,
Sweet.
and man, it had me juiced. I was so pumped. It was a lot of fun. I never really thought about those kind of things, to be honest. It was most of the time trying to focus on, just being excited to be out there again, and loving what I do. So
Yeah,
like I said, I didn't have a lot of expectations on myself anymore. I didn't know.
right, right.
Um, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what my goals were, but as far as like really expecting it, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, which I think is a good lesson as a coach as well. And I'm sorry, I keep going off on stuff, but you talk about the chicken and the egg with confidence and success. What comes first? Um, Honestly, I think confidence is something you don't need. It's a fleeting feeling, and I
Hmm.
think the more we can get away from that, just being sure, in your identity, things that are stable in your life that you can focus on and replicate every time you go to compete. I can't be confident every single time I compete,
Right.
as far as results go. I can be confident in the work I've done, the person I am, the things that really matter to me, the knowing I got a family that loves me, those kind of things. Um, and if you have success, it's easy to be confident in the result at that point. But I don't think you need success to have confidence, if that makes sense. You can be
Yeah,
confident in other aspects.
yeah. Well, I feel like it's the same thing too with a lot of people say this about motivation, right? Like you're not always going to have motivation to go to the gym or get up early and go on a run or get your lift in. You know what I mean? Like it's not always going to happen, but just showing up, getting the job done, right? Like that's where it really comes
Yep.
from. It's the same thing with confidence. I think you
Yep.
said it like perfectly to a T. But that also brings to light another point that I wanted to talk to you about is having an end goal, but really dialing in and focusing and enjoying the process, which I feel like a lot of athletes
Yep.
struggle with, where they want to be a national championship or they want to win something. Maybe it's all American or something like that, and they're so honed in on that that they're not in the moment. They're not experiencing, those times that looking back in 10, 15 years were the times of their life. You know what I mean? And I feel like you have a unique perspective on that because you were so set on being this national championship and wanting to win and obviously being upset with your performance here and there. But how do you
Yeah.
feel, I guess, looking back now and also when you were in the moment, were you focusing on the process? Were you enjoying the process, or were you really just like, this is a stepping stone, I want to get to my main goal?
So a little bit of both. Um, and I hate to admit this because I did it wrong. I did it wrong, straight up. Um, at the beginning of the year, was just so grateful to compete again. Not sure what's going to happen. Loving the process.
Yep.
Competing freely. well, I start having success, you know, beat the number 3 guy, beat the number 4 guy, beat the number 5 guy. Suddenly I'm ranked top 3 in the country. My mind shifted, and it was a huge mistake. Um, learned the hard way, unfortunately, but started focusing on winning and not losing anymore. Staying perfect throughout the rest of the season. I did, but it wasn't pretty. It was ugly as hell. I wasn't opening up anymore. I was wrestling matches just to win instead of wrestling to wrestle and enjoy it and be free. Was focusing on the results. I wanted to protect my seed. I wanted to be the 3 seed at nationals because it was a great spot to be. Um, and yeah, dude, my mindset and focus shifted again to the result
Mm-hmm.
after the success started happening, and I fell into the dang trap. Um, and it's what happened in the quarterfinals. I had a minute 18 riding time, which gives you an extra point. So I was winning 3-2 plus a minute 18 riding time. So technically I was winning by 20 seconds left. Instead of just wrestling and, focusing on the positions, I'm thinking about winning. Think about
Mm-hmm.
winning this
Mm-hmm.
match. And I stop moving my feet and I squeeze and I stand still. And he does what's called a duck, gets under me, takes me down, erases my riding time by 2 seconds. So if he'd have taken me down 2 seconds later, we'd have gone to overtime. But he took me down and erased my riding time by 2 seconds, and I watched it just slip right through my fingers. It was like, oh, I deserve that one. That's what happens when
Jeez.
you focus on the result, man. You
I guess
yeah.
so, yeah. It's a prime example right there, yeah. Wow.
So that ends up being my freshman year. I applied for 2 medical red shirts after that and got both of them, which was kind of the first time that happened in the wrestling world, I believe. It's becoming more and more common. NCAA is getting very gracious with the medical red shirts, but at this point, I'm a freshman,
That's
which was so
crazy.
funny.
It's
I'm a
technically your
senior in
fourth.
college.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
nuts.
red red shirt junior going into the year, senior academically, and then by the end of that year, I'm a freshman all over again. I'm like, oh baby, I got 3 years left. Like this is
That's
this is
wild.
gonna happen. So going into the next season, I'm ranked second in the country, um, undefeated at the time. Poised to make a run for my national title finally. And dude, completely blow out my shoulder. I tear 360-degree labral tear, 180-degree rotator cuff, full dislocation. Um, Season's done. I'm out for 7 months.
Holy shit.
Still came back. Was like, hey, I got two
Hell
more
yeah.
years. Let's go,
Hell
baby.
yeah.
Uh, Come back, wrestling again. I drop a weight class. Biggest mistake I ever made. Shouldn't have done it. Um, Having a pretty rough year, but still top 15 ranked. All I wanted to do was get qualified for nationals because once you're at nationals, crazy things happen. The weight cut had killed me all year, but when it's your last time, it's a lot easier to
Right.
suck it up.
Yep.
Um, COVID canceled the net, so didn't get to wrestle that year. And then I was like, all right, last one, let's do it. Like this is
Holy
it.
shit.
And I ruptured another disc in my neck
Oh my
and
God.
medically retired in 2021 October. And
Oh.
that was that second bracket that they replaced my disc.
Yep.
So I got 1 year. It was tough, but it
That,
was
I mean,
it was a fun
that's a
ride.
crazy. That might be the craziest story we've had on the podcast so far. Like, as a, in terms of ups and downs and roller coaster ride. And I'm sure that, I mean, that,
Oh, mainly this for sure.
yeah, but I mean, when you really look at it, like what you were able to do in that first year where you were, full time on the mat wrestling the whole year, like that's crazy. That is like perfect example of never giving up. facing the adversities and finding a way to get to the top, like that is, and obviously now you're coaching, like talk about a perspective, like you can, with
Yeah,
helping the athletes that are coming up. I mean, man, you've been through the ringer at like every single level. You know what I mean? You've been at the top, you've been at the bottom. Like, athletes coming from an athlete myself that is still playing. Dylan's still playing. Like, we want nothing more than a coach
awesome.
that has been there, done that. You know what I mean? Who's been through
Yeah,
all the adversities and has wisdom and advice to give us. Not somebody who
yeah,
had didn't face anything, getting to the top, and just went straight to the NHL without a doubt. They were always a top prospect. Like, we don't care about that. We want to hear
right,
somebody that can give us the tools to get through the ups and downs, because 99% of
right,
athletes are facing those adversities, whether they like it or not. That 1%, they get lucky and they can go through everything without a thought. So I
for
think that's
sure.
really cool.
I appreciate that. It definitely has had a lot of applications for a coach for sure.
Yeah.
We got guys that get injured, and I have pretty good guidance for that. Guys that need time off the mat. And my boss is fantastic at this, but going through what I went through, you realize that this sport does end. Sports do end, and so we like to take the approach of loving these kids as kids first, wrestlers second. So um, no, it's super fun. I don't know if you guys probably haven't heard how I got this job either, but it's kind of a funny story if you want me to run
Oh
through
yeah,
that
let's
super
hear it.
quick.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, do you know the story of Stanford wrestling in the past couple years?
No, no, I'm not familiar.
Oh, beautiful. This is great for the Underdog podcast. So, um, Stanford wrestling 2021. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. 2022. So I had just retired. I was finishing my MBA online and wanted to get the hell out of Mizzou. Was like, I love this place dearly, but I've had some rough years. I am ready to go somewhere else, get away from wrestling. It chewed me up and spit me out. Took a management job in Florida, was finishing my online school, and going into the 2022 season, Stanford announces that they're dropping wrestling. Going to cut wrestling was it 10 other sports or 12 other sports? I can't remember. It's
Yes, I
either
did hear
11
this with
strong or
all the big
13
cuts.
strong. Yes. So, like, earth-shattering news in the wrestling world. Stanford's obviously unbelievable academic school. There was very great wrestlers here at the time. It's got a rich tradition. Um, Wrestling world goes up in arms, angry about what's going on. What they did say, we'll let these guys wrestle this season, but after that, Stanford wrestling's gone, like no more. And the craziest thing happens, man. So wrestling fundraises all this money. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. These guys wrestled through their season amidst COVID, all these protocols. They're having to train outside. They're not able to stay in the dorms. They're getting kicked off campus. Like, there's all this just crap going on between COVID and having their sport cut. And long story short, they qualify four or five guys to nationals, which is very respectable. Um, and one of them, Shane Griffith, he was the 8 seed going in. As the 8 seed in the quarterfinals, you have to beat the number 1 seed, typically. Then you beat the 4 seed, and then you beat the 2
Yep.
seed. It's a tough path, very tough
Yeah.
path.
No kidding.
And what Stanford did is their guys all wore all black singlets with no branding on it. So there's zero Stanford branding. It's a purely black singlet. This dude makes it to the national finals unexpectedly as a fresh redshirt freshman slash sophomore. The COVID years messed me up so bad, man. I can't keep track. Um, he's winning the match, gets a 4-point move to win by even more. So he's up 6 points at this point. And so what the other coaches do is they challenge it because there's like a minute left in the match. They're down 6 points. They're like, all right, we need to challenge it. Maybe we'll get this reversed somehow. What that challenge did was pauses the match. They go to video review for like 3 minutes looking over the position. During that 3 minutes, mind you, I don't know if you guys have ever watched NCAA wrestling, but how they do the finals is there's one mat in the center. There's 40,000 fans all watching two guys wrestle. Center
Yep.
stage, lifted up like this high off the ground, spotlight. Like it's the most electric environment in sports, in my opinion. It's unbelievable. I've never met somebody that didn't have an absolute blast there. But anyways, so they pause the match in front of all these people, in front of the TV audience. Shane puts on a Save Stanford Wrestling hoodie, and they're reviewing this call, right? Well, the TV switches to Shane wearing the hoodie. And for 3 minutes, you see this dude walking back and forth, about to win a national title when his school cut the program. He's wearing an all black singlet and he's got Save Stanford Wrestling on his hoodie. And it just gets this airtime. Like, you couldn't write it up any cooler, right? And so he wins the match. He gets to have the ESPN interview in front of 40,000 fans, calling out to Save Stanford Wrestling. Like, they end up raising $13 million. $13 million. Yeah.
Wow.
So they
That is crazy.
unreal, right? I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. He's a
I got
phenomenal
goosebumps
kid.
right now. You
You
telling that
do.
story. That was crazy.
Well, and you guys know, like, as an athlete, that's life changing when they take that away from you. You have to transfer. You either transfer and give up your Stanford degree, which you don't want to do that. This sets you up for life. Or you give up your wrestling dream, doing the smart thing and staying at Stanford. And it's like, dude, how do you do that to these kids? And they did it to
Lose
13
lose.
sports. I need to watch what I'm saying because I'm an employee here, but um, they they raise the money, they bring back the program, they get rid of the old staff. They just weren't happy with them, and they hire this guy Rob Cole. He'd been Cornell head coach for 32 years, one of the best coaches to ever do it. He's legendary in our sport. He takes the job, and everyone's ecstatic. Like, it's huge for Stanford. They're bringing the program back. They're also bringing in one of the best coaches of all time. I'm in Florida working this management job, watching all this unfold as a fan. And this is about 8 months of not wrestling, about 5 months of real world work. I'm like, I am miserable. And so I see Rob Cole gets this job. He'd recruited me in high school. And I was like,
No
I do
way.
not have the resume to be a college coach. Definitely don't have the resume, but I am unhappy as hell. I need a change. Like, I want to go work for that guy. I stayed in touch with him after he recruited me all through college. I ended up wrestling his son in college, but I maintained a really good friendship with him because I've always liked him. So charismatic, so funny, unbelievable. Can't say enough good things about him. Anyways, so I shoot him a DM because I didn't have his contact anymore. He was changing jobs, so I didn't have his Cornell. He was at Cornell. I had his Cornell email address, but I didn't have a Stanford email. So I Twitter DM him, and I'm sorry, I'll wrap this up. I've warned you,
No,
I'm
this is
long-winded
good.
as hell.
This is gold. I love this.
Well, I think you'll really like this because he's so funny. So he takes the job. I send him. I'll read it to you, but I'll just show you what I'm reading from.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I go, Coach Cole, I know this is not the most ideal way of contacting you, but I was unable to find an email for you outside of your Cornell email address. I just wanted to reach out and express my interest in joining your staff at Stanford. If there's a process or anything I could do to put my name in the hat, please let me know. Congratulations on the move, and thank you for your time. He responds to me, Grant, I like your spunk, but you are simply not qualified for the job. I've got a friend in the equipment room who might have an opening for someone with such limited resources like yourself. Could be a great start.
Oh my God.
So just kicks me right in the nuts, right? He ends up calling me shortly after. Totally was busting my balls. He did not have a position for me.
Yeah.
Didn't have a position for me, but he did say, he's like, hey, you can come be an RTC athlete. What that is they train the college guys and then they compete at like world team trials, US Open, Olympic trials, those kind of things. I told him, I was like, dude, I have been so injured. I'm probably not going to compete, but I will gladly come train the guys and do whatever you need. And he's like, I don't care if you compete, if you just come help out, perfect. He's like, I'll get you a spot to stay out here and we'll find you a part-time job. And I was like, all right, are you serious? Like, I'll quit today. And he's like, yep. And so I quit my job in Florida, packed up. I'd never been to California before, drove the 40 plus hours to California and never looked back. Um, I ended up getting here and was working as a training partner. I also had a job in solar that he connected me with. And the guy that was supposed to be our volunteer coach didn't pass a background check. And I was here. And so
Oh my
he's
God.
like,
Talk
you
about
want
things
this?
lining
And I
up.
was like, dude, that's what I'm telling. Like, I've had some very unfortunate stuff happen, but man, they've all
And there
been
you go.
such blessings.
All works out in the end.
Dude, you just gotta like, you gotta have that stoic approach and just whatever happens, and you just keep rolling with the punches, right? But so that happens. I end up getting a volunteer assistant role. The next year, the guy that was our assistant decides that he wants to return to competition. So he steps down and Rob's like, "You want it?" And I was like, "This is a
Hell yeah.
freaking dream come true." I never thought in a million years I'd get this job. Never thought in a million years I could get into the college coaching. I had such a disappointing college career. Like I didn't have the accolades and yeah, ended up and that's my position now as assistant wrestling
God,
coach
man.
at Stanford. So
That
Shit.
is insane. I mean, you lived a lifetime of experiences and you're what, 27?
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is absolutely insane. I mean, we already said it, but like that, I mean, but that is like a testament of your resilience, like all along the way. Like you never gave up, and then you came right back in, and you took the leap of faith. On our last interview we just had, that we just recorded, she was a finance major. She got into finance after college, and she loves fitness, and she started coaching. She just took the leap, and that's what she's doing now. Like that's like the same thing. Like I feel like people are always
It's
so
awesome.
hesitant to leave like a 9 to 5 or leave a stable job for something that they're passionate about. Obviously, you're passionate about wrestling. It's something you did your whole life. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
just like, and I wish more people would just do stuff like that and just like, go for it, so to speak.
dude, it's such a. I mean, have you guys seen Nike Air? Have you seen that movie yet?
Yeah, yeah,
No.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
dude, you should go watch it because it basically, I mean, a lot of the themes that you just talked about are in that movie. It's literally about just doing it. Like I hate to say it, but man, that slogan absolutely kicks
oh
ass.
yeah,
Like
yep,
whatever you're thinking or dreaming about daily, and wherever your passions lie, whatever makes you just go do that. Just stop the BS. Go do what makes you happy, and you're gonna find a way to either make money or whatever it is. Be successful when you're happy and doing what you love. You're gonna be successful,
yep,
right? I mean, as long as you continue to persevere and keep trying, it's gonna work out. I saw you guys are launching an energy drink now, right?
yeah, yeah. We got one flavor out now. Our second flavor's coming out this summer.
That's awesome. I'm such a fan of that kind of stuff and just sending it on these ventures and companies and starting a podcast. Like hell yeah, dude, why not? Especially for guys our age, like this young, we've got plenty of time to get these resources back. Might as well send it on something you enjoy or love that you could blow the freaking roof off of.
Yep,
100%.
Um,
yep,
yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of that though. Just freaking do it. Just go do it.
yep. Yeah,
Whatever
I
it
mean,
is.
that's like probably the best advice you could honestly give anybody, I feel like. I mean, there's plenty of advice out there that is great advice, but I feel like that is just the most like understandable that can resonate with just about anybody. that everybody's passionate about something. Everybody has an interest of some sort. A lot of people, they just kind of like hide it down. Like they'll stick to their comfortability or stability, whatever it is that they
Yeah.
have going on in their life, and they won't go after that. So that's why I love, and honestly, Dylan and I, we talk about it all the time about this podcast, is we hear these stories and we're just like, it gives us motivation to keep moving forward with what we're trying to build. And this story especially, like, it's resilience to a T, in my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I'll never appreciate it probably as much as I should, because to me it was like there was never any other option.
Right,
Like
right. Yep.
it was easy. People ask me all the time, they're like, "How'd you keep coming back?" I was like, "What do you mean? This is so finite. Like, of course I came back. I'd be an idiot not to. I understand the like health implications or whatever, but I'll deal with that when I'm older. Like this is such a precious time. This is one goal I've had my eyes on since 10 years old. Hell no, it wasn't hard at all. It was
Yep,
easy.
yep,
But
yep,
You
and
get
you know
one
what?
shot.
It kind of ties in what we're talking about now. That it yeah, absolutely. But it came from my coach all the way back in high school, instilling my passion for the sport. Um, so if there was one other like hard theme that I could sell right now, it is cultivate that passion, feed that passion, and let it grow, because literally pushing through all that stuff it was not hard for me. It was so
yep,
easy to make that choice and do those things because I love the game so much. You know,
yep,
I'm not some special individual. I'm not like, it literally just came from a love for the game. If you love something, you'll probably do whatever it takes, right?
yep,
Um,
yep,
that'd be my other piece of advice. Cultivate your passions,
yep,
grow those bad boys. It makes the motivation and the confidence and whatever XYZ, whatever formula you want to put in, it makes it easier when there's a passion there. Just straight up.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And I guess, I mean, I feel like we could talk for hours about like all this kind of stuff, but I want to hear a little bit more about, I guess plans for the near future, the future in general. Like, if you have any goals in mind, whether it's coaching or some other, venture that you want to endeavor into, I'd love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. Couple things going on. I mean, from wrestling and coaching, my goal is to help these kids achieve their dreams. Do whatever I can to facilitate that and lift them up and guide them to the best of my abilities. I'm constantly trying to learn and develop as a coach. I know I'm young. I know I've got a lot to learn. Um, it's win a national team title for my boss. Stanford's never won one. He's never won one. He's finished second and third before, but he's never had the team title. So really, it's more of a goal for him. It's not as
Hmm.
important to me. I guess once you're a head coach, that makes sense. So really, really want that for him. And then outside of wrestling, I actually just started my own shoe company. Um,
No way.
I'm a huge sneakerhead, and I love shoes. I've always had a passion for shoes. Right now, I'm big into New Balance. Huge New Balance fan.
Okay.
Um, Big time collection. Love wrestling. Love shoes in general. Basketball, wrestling,
Yep.
running, whatever it is. Also, really love health, wellness, fitness. Moving out to California, you get exposed to some new stuff, as far as like the grounding and the
Hmm.
natural, like
Yep.
hippie stuff. I've taken love into it because I was this nose to the grindstone, farm boy, work hard, not smart kind of kid. Now it's like, well, that's probably why you were hurt all the time, dipshit. Um, so now I've kind of transitioned into like, taking a smarter approach, and my shoe company, the whole idea is it's a health and wellness business casual dress type shoe. Um, you've got your really great technology and Hoka's, Nikes on
Hmm.
whatever running workout shoe you prefer, right? I don't want to compete with those guys. They do great. They're great at what they do. But then for like your business professionals, like even as a coach, when we travel and need to look professional, dress shoes suck.
Oh yeah.
I it, I want to kick them off at the end of the day. I don't want to travel in them. I wear them purely for the fashion aspect, the professional aspect, and so I created a shoe that does both. It's got ETPU foam technology that
Oh
helps with shock absorption and making sure that your foot is striking the ground heel to toe in a natural fashion. It's got 2 inches of this foam, but it doesn't look like a super thick outsole. We
yep.
I probably shouldn't share all this because I'm gonna get my freaking ideas stolen before we hit market. But we pulled leather over some of the outsole to hide how thick the sole really is, so it looks still sleek and nice like a dress
Yeah, yeah.
shoe. It's got a bronze threading insole that helps regulate foot temperature, so you're not dying all day in gross dress shoes. Because leather upper, it's a little hot,
Yep,
not
yep.
as comfy. And there's some more tech that goes into it. I'm in the freaking tech capital of the world, and I'm working with this sports doctor that's done this. He's done sports medicine for 30 years, specifically knees, ankles, and hips. So he helped with some of the shaping um, to promote healthy posture and walking and joints and blood flow and XYZ. So yeah, just
Wow.
filed for the LLC a week and a half ago, and right now I'm waiting on the very first prototype from the factory. So
That is
it's
exciting,
awesome.
man. That good for you.
So
That's
good to hear.
so cool. And so like
Well,
when are you trying to
we'll see.
launch? Like what's the like goal anyways, I should say, because obviously all that stuff changes as Dylan and I definitely can relate to that.
For sure. I don't have a hard date set since
Mhm.
it's just me, and
Yep.
I've so far it's only been my money. I've put in about 40,000. Um, I'm on my time. And so
Right, right.
I don't have, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but I want to do this right and I want to do it well. Um, so I can't give you an exact date or a projected date because I have no idea. Um,
Yep.
I would love to launch next year. I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't, this is actually the first time I've said anything about it publicly. I've
Yeah.
kept it kind of under wraps and have just kind of
Yeah.
been doing the work in the background, but we're getting close enough that I think it's time to start getting some excitement behind it. And so
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I
it's
tell you what, you let
awesome.
us know when that's coming. I know who the first customer is gonna be. It's gonna be me. So,
Hey, you
One,
want to see
two.
it?
oh yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Let's see it.
So this is a rough, mind you. I'm not a shoe designer.
Yeah.
Um, I've learned Photoshop for my job here, but I don't have great experience. So this is a good idea of the shoe. I'm sure when the factory really gets into the details and things, it'll look much better. But
That's
Dude,
awesome.
those are sweet. Those are sweet. Let's go.
you like it?
Oh
It's
yeah.
Yeah.
it's not it's not super professional, but you could dress this with a suit without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and I'm going to prove the point. Like absolutely gonna rock them with a suit.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
Which
some other
is
color options.
so
Sorry, go
awesome
ahead.
because I don't know if you know what you know about the hockey background or the professionalism of hockey, but we wear full suits
Yeah,
to every game. Uh, Joy and I, yeah, will be 1-2 customers. I can totally relate to dress shoes. We have to wear our suits when we
beautiful.
travel in the airports, when we're on the bus. It's the first thing I do when I get to the hotel is pop them off. As soon as we get in the room, you're taking them off and getting into
Kick
your
the
your
shoes
dry
off.
line
Yeah,
clothes. Exactly. So I 1,000% relate to that. We'll be your first customers. When this comes, I love that. That's awesome.
you guys are like straight up a lot of how I envision the target market, right? It's these people that care about their health. They're still active. They love to work out, but they're also professionals. Like you travel as a professional. When you guys have business meetings, you're going to dress professionally, right?
Right.
Right. Um, but you still want to be comfortable and promoting health throughout the day. And there's an end goal, a little like I can't say anything. I can't say anything. There's more to it. Eventually, when the funds get up, there's more
Yeah.
to it. But it's called Heilung Technology Footwear. Heilung is German for healing. It's the whole vision behind the dress shoe.
Nice.
Is it's a healing, health promoting dress shoe. Um, I included technology because there's a technology aspect that we're developing that super excited about. And here's the other colors.
Oh
Oh
wow, so
wow,
you got a bunch of stuff going on. Wow.
that's
I, I
awesome.
Dude, that
I
is
like the
awesome.
white. I think white is a huge color right now. Everybody wears white sneakers, and
Yep, yep.
And the
you know
black, I
it's
love the black and the brown. Those
so.
look sweet.
Dude, the black are probably my second favorite. Those are
Yeah.
super sweet. I haven't posted anything on the social yet, but I'll follow you guys on that social so you can keep some tabs on
Oh
what's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
We'll definitely be in touch along the way because I want to hear about it too. And if you, I mean, Dylan and I are fairly new. I mean, we started this in 2019 and we just launched the energy drink this past
Yeah.
October. But we do have some insights to the process and whatnot. So if you ever like have any questions or want any thoughts on anything, like just let us know. We'd love to chat more about it, and we definitely want to have you on the podcast again once you launch this thing. For sure, we want to hear about everything.
Once Beautiful. No, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And you didn't know jack shit about energy drinks or supply chain or
No,
whatever other aspects of the company, right? You didn't know
yeah, no,
anything, but you
no.
said you just did it and you learn so much. It's crazy.
Yep, yep,
And now you could explain to me how to come up with ingredients and develop an energy drink and manufacture an energy drink and create the labeling and the distribution, and you learn
yep,
so
yep,
much, and it's like, you
yep,
know why? Because you fucking did it, because you
yeah,
went and did it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
I
100%.
don't know.
Just do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. But
Dude, I need my slogan. I need my slogan.
yeah, hey, that is a tough thing to do. Not gonna lie, like that is it's
Yeah.
like your brand too. You know what I mean? So like you want to make sure it's perfect. Um, but man,
Yeah.
that's awesome. The whole thing, this interview is awesome. We'll definitely be posting a few different snippets along the way. We try to keep our page like aesthetic the same, our grid posts and whatnot. But for the next couple of weeks, we're definitely going to be posting about this episode, and with your permission, we'll promote stuff about you hyping up the launch of your company and whatnot. But like I said before,
Hey,
we want to have you
appreciate
on
that.
again. And this was an awesome story. I'm already dying to text. I'm about to text my buddies like, hey, wait until this one comes out. Like you got to listen to it. But
Oh
man, that was
man,
awesome.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You got anything else you want to add, Dylan? You got anything else you want to ask him or anything like that?
I mean, just for starters, I got a couple things. Grant, like that was unbelievable to hear your story, what you went through, how you battled back. I have a few things written down that I just want to touch on. Like you talk about cultivating your passion, and sorry, I got little sisters running around. Anyways, you talk
You're
about
good.
cultivating your passion, and that's our slogan is driven by passion. We have it. I guess I got the old shirt on, but on our new ones, we have on the sleeve of the shirt, you know, by passion. Like that's our thing. Like we want people to find something they're passionate about and pursue that with everything they have. And I just felt it was so fitting, like when you were talking about your high school coach and how he engraved that in you. I was like, man, like this ties into exactly what we try to do. So that was so cool to hear. And what you went through, 7
That's awesome.
surgeries to come back and to talk about how it was an easy decision. Like, what else am I going to do? You have one shot at this and one opportunity, um, to make the most of your college career, and you did. So that's awesome. And then to hear about the LLC, like that's exactly what Underdog is too. Underdog LLC, and what we went through with just doing this. We started with the clothing and hoodies and workout apparel, and then it transitioned into we knew we wanted to make the ready to drink at some point, but it was always, oh, we don't have the funding. We kept making excuses. We don't have the resources for this. We can't do it yet. And then we just said, screw it. Like, what's the better time than now? And we did it. We knew what we wanted the end product to be, but we didn't know how to do it. We learned, like you said, you learn so much along the way. Um, I know I'm obviously delayed, so it was tough to time it, but I had so much to say. I was just on the edge of my seat. It was awesome to have you on and just listen to your story. Like, so much of it related. I can't wait for this episode to come out, and it was awesome having you on.
Man, I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. It's no, it was an absolute blast on my end as well. I like you said, that's you guys stand for a lot of the things that I'm a big believer in. So and you're doing a lot of the things, that I'm doing. We're doing the same thing. So tons of respect. Really appreciate it. Yeah, had an absolute blast. I don't know if it would help with your guys' content or whatever. And I swear I'm not self-plugging, but there is a little YouTube video that kind of outlines my whole story,
Oh, that'd be
that
perfect, actually.
I
Yeah,
could send it
Yeah,
over to you if you want to use for some clipping and things
100%.
like that.
perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Give me
Yeah,
one
that
sec.
was actually going to be my first thing I said after we got off the interview. I was going to ask you for some content that we can use to make the snippets. But yeah, I mean, anything else that you want to add or anything like that, or are you pretty much good for now?
No, I mean I love what you guys stand for. Love what you're doing. Um, Again, appreciate you taking the time to have me on and be a voice. If anybody is curious about the shoes, it's Heilung Heilung technology footwear on Instagram. I'll link it in my bio. Also, follow Card Wrestling, Stanford Wrestling. We've got an incredible story arc. Canceled, brought back. Now we've had three top five recruiting classes for a team that has never had a top five recruiting class. We got three in a row.
Wow.
We're building and we're poised to make a serious run in a few years, and yeah, got some underdog stories for sure.
Damn right you do. Yeah, I mean, it's freaking awesome, man. And we'll plug all that. We're gonna put it all out on our social media and on my personal too. I don't have that many followers, but I still want to put it out there and try to spread the word about it because I think it's awesome, good stuff that you're working on. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck with the shoes and your coaching career and anything else you got going on.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys, and likewise. Obviously,
Yeah,
likewise.
thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Grant. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
See you
Okay, man.
guys. Pleasure. Take care.
First of all, I had goosebumps, legit
Me too.
chills up and down my body when he told that story. Um, I mean, I don't even know what part of his story to really like touch on right now and grasp, but I mean, that is like, I just said it off air, but just when you think you have things going bad, it can always be worse. But with that being said, there's always an exit, there's always a way back, there's always a way to your success if you really just you're resilient, you're persistent, and you just keep moving forward. I feel like that's
Mhm.
moral of his story is like keep moving forward. That's it.
Yep, 100%, man. That was on. Same thing. I had goosebumps when he said that. I forget his name. Was it Nick who put the Save Stanford hoodie on? When he said that and the spotlight was on him, I had goosebumps. The hairs of the back of my neck were
Yeah,
standing. It was
yeah,
unbelievable. I was
yeah,
so invested in the story. And even when he was talking about his first match back, and then we took off on talking about injuries and everything. And the whole time I was like, but how did it go? I was dying to know.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
unbelievable to hear
yeah, yeah,
just what he went through, down to earth, just a genuine good person, and his heart's in the right place. He's back, doing what he loves, and it was neat to see when you asked him what his goals are, and he's like, help these kids reach their dreams. That was the first. He didn't even hesitate. That was the first thing, out of his mouth.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
he's right where he needs to be. doing the right things. That was so cool. Like that
Yeah.
was just an awesome episode from head to toe. And then he drops that bomb on us with his own shoe company. We had no idea.
Yeah.
That was crazy, unbelievable. I don't know what else to say. It was awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And very, very selfless, you can tell. I mean, even when we asked him about his goals, he said that first of all, and second of all was to get his boss, the head coach, the national team championship. Like, talk
Yeah.
about selfless, and I feel like that really is what it's all about. I feel like so many people get wrapped up in their own success, their own goals. But if you have people alongside you that are on the same journey, you really want what's best for them. You want to succeed because you want to see them succeed. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? At least that's how I took his story, and that's how I take my own. Like whether it's my family, whether it's whether it's my teammates. Like I don't want to fail them. Like I want success for them, and by doing that, I have to put my best foot forward. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
persistent. I have to be resilient. You know what I mean? Like, and he described that to a T in his whole journey. It was just nose to the grindstone, and I don't care. I don't care who you are, man. I don't care who tells you that take it easy, take your foot off the gas a little bit, you're working too hard. Like, that's the only way. That's the only fucking way to get anywhere is to do more than what's expected of you. There's no moderation. There's zero moderation for anything. If you're passionate about it, you got to do everything you possibly can. You're going to be misunderstood. Just like every motivational speaker you've heard, just like anybody who's already done it, you're going to be misunderstood. You have to take your own path. It's going to be a lonely road. You're going to be the only one. But when you really look up, you got people around you that are on the same journey as you. So I thought that was a phenomenal interview. I'm excited to have him on again when,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have this, I'm sure, trials and tribulations of starting a company. You know what I mean? Like we'll hear that from him, which will be cool. And I wish he was closer on the East Coast. We could do it in person, and maybe we'll have the funds to fly out there or something and hit a bunch of interviews or something like that, which would be cool. But
When we're flavoring the
man,
next
that
third
was surreal.
flavor.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, good point. Um, but yeah, so that was an awesome interview. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I really have nothing else to say but continuously listen to this episode because I think there's tons of value in it, and there will be things hiding if you listen to it again. I guarantee you there's something to take out of this, and I hope that the content we put out there to promote this episode is valuable enough to get people to listen to it because I think this is a story that needs to be heard by athletes, by coaches, by businessmen and women, whatever it might be. Like, this will keep you going. Stories like this, because you never know when you fail, when you're rock bottom. We were just talking about this, Dylan. You're at your rock bottom. You just never know when you're about to reach what you wanted,
Breakthrough.
and what he wanted, he probably didn't even know he wanted. And there he is now. He's the assistant coach at freaking Stanford, and he's starting his own company. Like, just awesome story. Awesome dude. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next episode.